6th, 2023. It's the Community Shield between Manchester City and Arsenal, and Cole Palmer is brought off the bench. He's starting to push towards making a name for himself in Manchester City's squad, having come through their youth academy. He comes on and curls the ball into the top corner to give City the lead, only for his side to lose on penalties. But he's an exciting and confident player, and seemingly a good finisher. The problem is for him, he's behind Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, in a pretty stacked pecking order. So when he was denied the opportunity to go out on loan and Todd Boehly came calling with his footballer trafficking scheme, there was only one move he could make. Now, since the Chelsea movie has been absolutely electrifying. 50 goal contributions in 53 games is outrageous for a Chelsea side that struggled over the last 2 years. Combine that with a Euros bench warming campaign, but a goal in the final of the competition, and there's a chance that Cole Palmer might be the best player in the league. You know what's crazy? Nothing else can distract this guy from footballing greatness. Mostly because there's nothing else that he's thinking about.
What?
Do you honestly think he read the contract before he went to Chelsea? Not a chance, mate. That is a 99-year contract. They snuck in an extra digit without him realising. Now, obviously, we already knew before last week that Cole Palmer was a serious talent. Last season, he racked up 22 goals in 34 in the league alongside 11 assists. Again, for a Chelsea side that were, although finished, I think, 6th in the end, were pretty much 9th or 10th for about 80% of the whole season. That is 33 goal contributions in 34 in the league. In his debut campaign at the club as a 21-year-old, it's a joke. But when it came to the Brighton performance and he'd scored 4 goals before anyone had even had a chance to have lunch that afternoon, things were starting to get a little bit out of control. He became the first player to score 4 goals in one half of football, grabbed himself a 10-minute hat-trick, and the FA were on the verge of sending extra match balls to the stadium just so he could take them home with him, and just so Romeo Lavia could abuse him on them again. He'll have had a sudden realization when he went to YouTube to watch the highlights back for this game.
They're all of me.
The temperature inside Stamford Bridge was very low indeed, and the guy even capped off his hat-trick with a disgraceful free kick. Probably the best free kick that's been scored this season by anybody. And you know what's mad? He's not even trying.
Have you been practicing it? Because it was a perfect free kick.
No, not really. Just messing about and stuff after training, not practice.
His brother's just scored the free kick of the year and he's not even training on them. He's not practicing and he's achieving this. Imagine what would happen if he unlocked even 1% of his brain. But the thing is, for all the clinical finishing and just the records being broken when it comes to just his goal scoring, he's a creative force as well. There's a pass that I bookmarked, but it's since been copyright claimed. I'll see if I can find it, of him like looping a ball over the top to find Nicholas Jackson. It's when Nico Jackson should have scored in the second half. I think it went round the keeper and didn't score. It's mental. Harry Potter couldn't even pull off a ball like that. He probably thinks that's a real story, does Cole, if we're being honest. He's doing things that just aren't even simply making sense at this point and making it look very easy. I mean, if you're a Manchester City fan, what are you even thinking at this point? Because I know there was talk of he wanted to leave. I think he's said in an interview since that basically he wanted to go out on loan, but was told he either had to stay or had to be sold. Now, I don't know who made that decision, whether it was Pep Guardiola himself or whether it was the board. Pep Guardiola's also said that he wanted Cole to stay, so I'm guessing it was an above Pep decision. But either way, it's a stupid one. From my memory of the time, right, without looking at statistics on playing time, he was getting some action in the Champions League where Man City were rolling teams over. He was getting action, obviously, in the Cup. But a Community Shield where he scored that goal against Arsenal felt like an actual turning point of, okay, you are now in City's plans. You are just far down the pecking order because you're still a child. So realistically, if he wanted to go out on loan, send him out on loan, man. He's homegrown. He's obviously class. He was scoring beautiful goals back then. I remember him scoring in the FA Cup. He set up a goal for Bernardo Silva in the FA Cup, and then he scored an absolute banger in off the bar and post. They probably didn't expect him to turn out how he has right now so quickly, but the talent was obviously there. Let him have a season out on loan and then return and, you know, phase him in gradually. Selling him and replacing him with Jeremy Doku and Matheus Nunes might be like charge number 127, I'll be real. But whilst he was deemed expendable by Manchester City, he is absolutely crucial for Chelsea. As I said, 50 goal contributions in 53 is an absolute joke. He's got a bit of versatility, can play out on the right-hand side, he can play in behind the striker or even up front, and he still has no idea what's going on a day-to-day basis.
You've been on the
M25?
Probably, I don't know what that is.
The motorway. It's
No, I know it's a motorway, but I don't know which one.
I'm trying to work out if that's less scary or whether it just contributes to his powers. Either way, dads are going to be getting emotional when their children ask why they're called Cole Didier Makalele Palmer. Dad, seriously, why? I'm a white child. Let's look at the statistics, all right, for a second, because Cole Palmer has more goals this season in the Premier League than Manchester United at the time of recording. Yes, that is a testament to extreme level baldness at Old Trafford, but it's also a testament to how impressive Cole has been. He scored more goals in the game against Brighton than Phil Foden scored in the last 4 months. What are we even doing here? I spoke about Manchester United, to be fair. Do you remember that game last year when they were like up leading with 2 minutes to go and lost in the 99th and 100th minute of the game? They'll still have PTSD from that and have PTSD from all their games this season too. Meanwhile, the only thing giving Cole Palmer PTSD is simple arithmetic. His arms are gonna have carpet burns on them. The amount of times he actually does this celebration. Though actually he confirmed that it's his good friend Morgan Rogers. It belongs to him. He did the celebration first when they were in Man City's academy together. Obviously Morgan Rogers then went to Middlesbrough and has been extremely impressive at Aston Villa. He'll be straight down to court when he realises he should have copyrighted the Borough bicep boogie.
Here to report a crime, an international war crime, right?
How have we ended up in a situation where Cole Palmer, who was like not unknown really, even like 4 years ago, he was like a hot prospect as far as Manchester City were concerned. How has he just seemingly jumped the queue when it comes to the hype that we've had about players like Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden for absolute years? I'll be honest, there's not really like a key reason. He's not from like a crazy footballing family. His dad used to play Sunday League. Cole actually grew up as a Manchester United fan, but was inducted into the Man City Academy at an early age. Obviously, this was around about a time where Manchester City had started to really pump money into the infrastructure around the club and also the academy coaching too. He joined back in 2010 when he was at the age of 8, but by the time he was like really growing into sort of his teenage years, Manchester City's academy was probably one of the best in the world in terms of facilities. So he received a ridiculous amount of really strong academy coaching and obviously had the natural ability and composure anyway. I say everyone was quality. Certain academy coaches maybe didn't quite see the vision because they wanted to actually have him released from the club's academy back when he was like 14 to 15 because he was a little bit too skinny, but in the end it was overruled, thankfully for Man City, I guess. But he always had like a decent amount of youth pedigree, represented England at under 16, under 17 and under 18 level, and captained Man City for the under 18, so there was already hype there. I think the thing is with Manchester City, you very rarely see players from the youth academy break through, kind of generally speaking, a lot more recently like a Phil Foden or an Oscar Bob, but for the most part they are very good without you realising because they don't get used all that often at senior level. There's been times where Arsenal have had to rely on youth players because the actual quality of the side isn't as good as a Manchester City. There's times where Liverpool have had to rely on youth players to fill out an entire starting 11, like in the Carabao Cup last year. You don't really get that sort of need to promote youth academy players for Manchester City. It's more to create good players. If they become great and end up going somewhere else, then it's a great money-making scheme. But if they're like a Phil Foden or potentially an Oscar Bob or a Rico Lewis, then hey, it's just a bonus. They make it into the starting 11 when they are absolutely 100% ready. So Cole Palmer was appearing in the Cup, making, you know, a name for himself in the Champions League, grabbing a goal on his debut, to be fair, in Europe. There was a decent bit of hype, and also the way he conducted himself in interviews was unlike anybody else, really. He kind of made a name for himself before he had a chance to break into Man City's first team at all, because a interview from after he scored in the FA Cup, I can't remember who he was playing, it was either like Bristol City or Barnsley, had gone viral because of the way he was answering questions. He wasn't really media trained at all, but that made it more interesting. That made him seem more raw and like as like a more of a normal person than a lot of the PR merchants that we get today. But one thing I will say about Manchester City academy graduates, right, is that sort of Pep Guardiola style of player has definitely infiltrated all the way through the various youth teams, to a point where Phil Foden looked Spanish when he arrived on the scene in the way that he played. Cole himself is very calm, composed, a great playmaker, a great dribbler, you know, at close quarters. You got Oscar Bob, very technically gifted from Norway. Rico Lewis, to say he's a wing back, is very technically gifted, and that's really contributed to how complete of a midfielder he is already. He must have been a striker at an early age because there's crazy clinicality in the way that he finishes chances. Like, he strikes the ball so well, whether he's side-footing it, like finessing and curling it into the far corner, or just hitting it with power as well. But then also that dribbling ability and playmaking has also been kind of added to his game maybe a little bit later on by Man City's academy coaching. He's a confident dribbler, takes on his man, there's more balls going going through legs than Johnny Sins. He's got balance to sort of slalom through defenders, but he's also, as I mentioned, got crazy, playmaking and passing range. Through balls that are disgusting, that find Nicholas Jackson, who acts erratically at the end of it. Not all the time, but one man who never acts erratically, yeah, Cole. Like, his composure is nuts. I remember that goal that he scored against Luton last season where he went round the keeper, dribbled it past another defender and just slotted it in. You cannot physically pressure this man.
We cannot replace him.
And that's why he's got a 100% record when it comes to penalties. 10 out of 10 as well. And I know, listen, it sounds like I'm doing Krispy Kreme level glazing right now, but he deserves his flowers. He's a very good player, and he has to be, at this point, one of the first names on the team sheet when it comes to England games. He doesn't go missing. I've had a slander video saved on my PC ready for FTW for weeks. I haven't been able to use it yet. But all in all, a lot of the discourse is about Manchester City selling him on, right? You know, he's been amazing for Chelsea. He's gonna be amazing for Chelsea. He's probably gonna be their main man. And I've seen people compare it to how Kevin De Bruyne chose the opposite path, where he was a youngster at Chelsea, didn't really get his opportunity, had a bit of a middle ground at Wolfsburg, obviously, which is slightly different, but then came back when he was a bit more ready, and he's been incredible for Man City. But where Kevin De Bruyne just wasn't given an opportunity at Chelsea and was just flogged on at the earliest opportunity, I don't think that was necessarily the case with Cole Palmer. I don't think it was a lack of belief. I think they just saw 45 mil coming for him, when, well, he kind of just wants to go out on loan. We'd rather have 45 mil than loan him out, and just took the deal. And at the time, a lot of people, I'm not gonna lie, the discourse at the time was that it was a waste of money. You know, Chelsea were on this crazy train of signing players for £1 billion and then none of them being any good. And most people would have looked at that then and said, yeah, fairs. You know, I think they were probably right to do that. So we can look back on it in retrospect and obviously say, yeah, it was a bad decision. Cole Palmer starts for Man City. Cole Palmer starts for most teams on this planet right now. He definitely starts for Manchester City. He's been better than Phil Foden for like the last 6 months. He's better than Grealish. He's better than Doku. But even as he was putting the ball in the top corner in the Community Shield against Arsenal, I don't even know if it was predictable then. Either way, what do you think? Were Manchester City wrong to sell him? Should they have got more money for him? Or is this just the case of a breakout star that nobody could predict? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you have enjoyed this video, feel free to slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also join the members group. You get like cool perks, like videos like this one coming out a little bit earlier, and I'll be doing premieres for a series that's coming back, and you'll get cool emotes and things like that too, as well as the odd little exclusive stream maybe. You can also follow me on social media though. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.